Hello, this is Mark Hill, and I am the Traveling NP. I've been getting a lot of interest in the last couple of weeks from people who are inquiring about financial and tax stuff. So I'm going to kind of delve into that a little bit. Little background for those who don't know me: I am a board certified family nurse practitioner. I have a small clinic with a receptionist and a nurse, and I continue to do locum tenens work periodically. But primarily, I'm a family practice provider at this point. The subject I want to broach today is financial success uh, in locums, but this can really apply, I think, to anyone. As a young nurse and a young person coming out of nursing school many, many years ago, close to 30 now. I did what a lot of really uneducated people do. I got into a lot of debt. Financed cars, financed homes, charged up credit cards. Just really stupid stuff. Um, I got cancer about 15 years ago, and I was out of work for a year. So I lost everything. Ruined my credit, lost my house, lost my cars, uh, was under chemotherapy, had surgery. It was just a royal mess. It was almost kind of a blessing in disguise though, because basically I started out with nothing at that point when I got back to work. My credit was royally screwed. I couldn't finance anything. I ended up buying, and I got divorced, so that didn't help, matters either financially. Um, I ended up my dad ended up getting ill, and I moved basically into their backyard, moved a trailer into their backyard, and my mom and my dad had great credit, so he signed um, on a loan for me. Um, and I was able to put a trailer behind his house, and I stayed there with him for the next 5 or 6 years, pretty much helping my dad, my mom with my dad until his death. And that was about 9 years ago. He died. Um, After that, not long after that, I remarried a very beautiful woman that owned her own business and was very successful financially, but she wasn't particularly smart with money either. Um, and so we got married, and we both knew that our credit was not good, and so we started really working on our credit. We started, and we even after we got married, we made some financial mistakes. We um, got back into debt with a house and a car, and I was making good money as a nurse practitioner at the time. Had a really good job. Um, I had a primary practice uh, position, and I was, with overtime, I was pulling in 150, $160,000 a year, and she was doing hair at the time, and so we were doing pretty well. But we got into major debt again, and right back to stupidity. Well, long story short, the practice I worked for, they had to split up the partners, and one of the consequences of that is that I had to go with one of the partners who had the smaller clinic, and my pay got significantly reduced, and boy, that hit hard, and that was really what threw us into the locums life. Um, I originally took a full time position in an ER to get some ER experience because I knew that's what I wanted to do as a traveler, as a locums provider. I really didn't understand locums at that time, though, so I worked that job for about a year as a full time provider before I jumped into locums. And it was really a jump. I researched it for about 7 or 8 months, and I was able to pay off a couple of little credit cards. My wife and I decided at that point that we were going to get control of our lives. So we sold our big house, bought a smaller house for a much lower price, started really focusing on paying off our debts. And so I jumped into locums, not really knowing. That's how this whole channel got started. Was not really knowing what I was doing. I found a couple of places that you could find out a little bit of information, but nobody was ever really detailed. Nobody ever got down to the nuts and bolts of things to tell me what was going on. And so I kind of went into it blind, like a lot of people do. But I busted the doors of that thing wide open. I hit it. I pushed the pedal down to the metal, and I hit the ground rolling. And I worked all the time, busted my hump. And my wife and I took every extra piece of money we had, and we started applying it to debts, student loans, credit cards, houses, cars, and I was making a killing. Um, and then I started incorporating some telemed in there, which I still do a little bit of that. And we basically lived very frugally. We traveled around, and I just took high paying jobs. I didn't really even care where we were going. We ended up going to some really cool places, but that wasn't why I took the jobs. I took the jobs for money because I knew we needed to get our financial situation straight. And so the key for us was we got involved into Dave Ramsey. I don't know if you know him. He's a financial advisor. Um, we didn't. His advice really didn't suit us very well. We really didn't adhere to it, but in the end, we ended up pretty much adhering to it. We didn't strictly. For example, I still have credit cards. I just pay them off at the end of every month. He hates credit cards. We started with our big debts, whatever our high interest debts were. He suggested you start with your lowest amount of debt. We just started paying off big chunks of everything. So the financial success part of it really came with disciplining ourselves to, instead of blowing and going and buying new vehicles and living high on the hog, we just sunk everything we had into outstanding debt, and I paid off a ton of it. I went from having a credit score when we got married of about 520 after I filed bankruptcy. I filed bankruptcy after I got cancer. I had a credit score of about 520. My wife's was about 590. And we started paying everything off, paid all our credit cards off, started really paying close attention to what we were doing. And in a matter of about 8 or 9 years after my bankruptcy fell off from 2004, my credit score is over 800, and my wife's is substantially over 800. 850 is about as high as you can get. So we worked really, really hard to pay off all our debts. We have some business debt. I have credit cards that, if I needed to, for whatever reason, could charge up to about $40,000, but have zero balance. I don't owe anything on my cars anymore, and we'll probably never buy a car again and finance it. So if I could give locums any advice, and if you want to get your life together and get it straight, get in there, work hard, make good money, and get your debts paid off. One second. Yes? 9.7. Hemoglobin? Yep. Okay.
And then are you going to come in here and talk to her?
Yeah, just have her in the room.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, bye.
Bye. Anyway, day in the life of a practicing nurse practitioner. So pay off your debts. Get your outstanding debt out of the way. High interest. Interest is just money you're throwing away. You might as well just take $100 bills and throw them down the toilet. Pay off your debts. Make good money. Pay off your debts. Don't get back into debt. Now my wife has gone back to work, opened a business, and she's doing very well. And we just don't have the okay. We don't have the outstanding debt anymore. So my secret, and anyone's secret can be, get out of debt. Pay every little bit of money you have extra towards your debt. Get your debt paid off. Get that interest off your back. Don't be a slave to someone else, because debt is being a slave. Get your taxes right. Get a CPA. If you're making more than $50,000 a year, you need a CPA. All my CPA handles all my tax stuff. She just does it all at the end of the year. I cut her a check for her services. I pay my taxes, write them a check. That's all you can do. You're not going to get out of paying taxes. And as a sole proprietor or LLC or as an S corp, you got to stay on top of that stuff, because you can get in bad trouble. I've seen people get in bad trouble. Pay off your debts. Work hard, make good money, and it doesn't take long. This all happened in about 3 years' time. We got serious about paying off our debts, and bam, before we knew it, we're done. And we're making great money. We have great careers. Now all we're doing is trying to decide when we want to retire. And that could happen a lot sooner than most people even think. Pay off your debts. Work hard. Don't get into debt. Get your money straight. Anyway, this is Mark Hill. I am the Traveling NP. Good to see you. Talk to you next time.